The perfect illusion. Emily Carter had everything a suburban wife could ask for: a handsome home in Connecticut, 2 adorable kids, and a husband who provided stability. Brad, her husband of 8 years, was an accountant. Reliable, predictable, and boring. Not that Emily ever said that aloud. She loved him once. Maybe she still did, or maybe she just loved the idea of who he used to be. But over the years, their connection thinned out like an old bedsheet. Conversations turned into routines, date nights into quiet dinners where both scrolled through their phones. Brad stopped noticing the way she dressed, the effort she made, or the longing in her eyes for something more. Emily was no ordinary housewife. At 34, she worked part-time as an executive assistant at a high-end marketing firm in Manhattan. It was more than a job, it was her escape. And at the center of that escape was her boss, Julian Hayes. Julian was everything Brad wasn't. Confident, driven, with a charm that could melt glass. In his mid-40s he had a sharp jawline, salt and pepper hair, and a presence that made the room turn quiet when he walked in. He complimented her, remembered little things she said, and made her feel seen. At first, it was harmless. Or so she told herself. Part 2, lines begin to blur. It started with late-night emails. Then casual coffee breaks turned into long, intense conversations behind closed office doors. Julian opened up about his divorce, about how hard it was to trust anyone in his world. Emily shared stories about her kids, her failing marriage, the kind of emotional intimacy that deepens faster than either realized. Then came the night of the company retreat. After too many glasses of wine at the hotel bar, Emily and Julian found themselves walking along the dimly lit garden path outside. The air was thick with tension, unsaid words and quick glances. "I shouldn't feel like this," she whispered. Julian stopped walking. "Feel like what?" "Like I'm wanted again." In the seconds that followed, all logic evaporated. Their lips met under the moonlight. It wasn't a kiss, it was an eruption of everything they had held back. Guilt came later. That night, they didn't go back to their separate rooms. Emily didn't sleep. Not because of what happened, but because of how right it felt. Part 3, a double life begins. Back home, Emily tried to resume normal life with Brad, but everything felt fake. Brad noticed something was off. She laughed less. She avoided eye contact. She smelled like perfume he didn't recognize. One night, he asked, "Is there someone else?" She paused too long before saying, "No." Meanwhile, the affair intensified. Julian booked meetings just to see her alone. They started using hotel apps, secret calendars, and even burner phones. Emily lived in 2 worlds: PDA meetings in the morning, hidden kisses in office elevators by night. It was risky, it was thrilling. And it was tearing her apart. Discovery and fallout. It didn't last. Brad wasn't dumb. One afternoon, while Emily was showering, he glanced at her phone. A message popped up. "Julian, I miss the taste of you. Last night was unreal. Same time tomorrow?" Brad froze. When Emily came out of the bathroom, she found Brad sitting at the edge of the bed, phone in hand. His face was pale. "You cheated on me?" Her knees buckled. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this," she choked. "I didn't mean to fall for him." Brad stood up slowly. "You didn't mean to? You threw away a marriage, our family, for a fling with your boss?" Tears streamed down her cheeks, but Brad was already walking out the door. Part 5, Rebuilding or Ruining. Brad filed for separation. Emily moved into a rental apartment closer to the city. The kids split time between homes. It was messy and heartbreaking. Julian offered support, but Emily started questioning everything. Was this love, or just escape? As months passed, the affair lost its thrill. Without the secrecy, it felt different. Quieter. More real. And one day, she looked at Julian across the table and said, "Was this ever about love, or were we just lonely?" Julian didn't answer right away. The truth in the silence. Julian stared at Emily across the cafe table, his coffee going cold between them. Her question lingered in the air like fog, heavy and impossible to ignore. Was this ever about love, or were we just lonely? Finally, he exhaled. I don't know anymore. Emily nodded slowly. That answer hurt more than a lie ever could. Not because it confirmed her fears, but because it was honest. Painfully, brutally honest. In the weeks that followed, the distance between them grew. No more secret touches or whispered plans. Julian became busier. Meetings were shorter. Messages went unanswered for hours. Emily realized something she hadn't admitted before: she had been chasing an illusion. With Brad, she had stability but no passion. With Julian, she had passion but no foundation. She had sacrificed everything in search of something real, only to discover she was never enough for either world. The affair hadn't set her free. It had made her more lost than ever. Part 7. Reflections and Regrets. One cold Saturday, Emily sat alone in her apartment with a photo album from the early days of her marriage. She found a picture from their honeymoon, Brad smiling at her, goofy and full of love. That version of them felt like a different lifetime. She cried for the woman she used to be. For the marriage she shattered. For the trust she broke. For the kids who now split holidays. She tried therapy. She journaled. She apologized to Brad, not for the affair alone, but for all the years of silence, resentment, and emotional distance. Brad listened, but the hurt was too deep. I want to forgive you, he said. But I don't know if I can ever look at you the same. Part 8. Starting over, alone. Months turned into a year. Julian got transferred to the firm's London branch. Before leaving, he met Emily for one last goodbye. I did love you, he told her. In my own way. She smiled sadly. It wasn't enough. They didn't kiss. No tears. Just silence. And closure. Emily began to rebuild her life. Not for anyone else, but for herself. She changed jobs, downsized her apartment, and focused on being present with her children. She joined a writing class. She stopped waiting for someone to fill the emptiness inside her and started facing it head on. She wasn't healed yet, but for the first time, she was honest with herself. The letter. One rainy afternoon, almost 2 years later, she received a letter in the mail. It was from Brad. Emily, I've been angry for a long time. Not just about what you did, but how blind I was to how unhappy we both were. You hurt me. Deeply. But I've also hurt you, with neglect, silence, and distance. I don't know what the future holds. But I know our past wasn't all bad. Maybe one day, we can sit down, not as husband and wife, but as two people who shared something real. Not for us. But maybe for the kids. Brad. She folded the letter slowly, her eyes wet. Maybe love doesn't always survive betrayal. But maybe forgiveness can. Part 10, the final chapter. Emily didn't end up with Julian. She didn't go back to Brad. She didn't become a symbol of heartbreak, or a villain in someone's story. She became her own person. Stronger. Wiser. More self-aware. She now knew that no man, no matter how charming or stable, could give her what she wasn't willing to give herself. Peace, purpose, and truth. Some nights, she still lay awake wondering what if. But most nights, she slept soundly. Because sometimes, the most powerful love story is the one you write for yourself.